Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is The Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button. You want to see more? Hit subscribe. Let the games begin. This is F1 2019, Episode 6. We're in the career mode, and we're at Spain. So, Barcelona, Catalunya. We are ready to go into qualifying. It's been a good practice overall. I found a setup that I'm pretty happy with, but we're still in the Williams. And even though we have 2 upgrades and the car is starting to get a little bit easier to drive, a little bit, realistically, the low aero and chassis, and you see the gap from us to Toro Rosso and Renault and Alfa Romeo at the back, it's still quite significant. Now, one thing of note, if you watched the last episode, in the episode itself, I talked about an update coming up, and then in the comments below, I mentioned that the update actually happened the day that I filmed that. Well, I wasn't aware until afterward. No wonder I had so much trouble in Singapore getting a setup that worked. One of the main features of the update was a rebalancing of the 10 cars, the 10 constructors' cars. And Williams was nerfed even further, meaning their aero and chassis were both lowered considerably. And actually their powertrain was lowered a hair. So everything on the car got a little bit worse. So, yeah. And no wonder we struggled last time. But we do have 2 new aerodynamic parts on the car this time out. And you can already see that our aero has now caught up to our chassis. Those 2 parts were the front downforce cascade winglets, and then we had suspension for drag. Now we have front wing end plates that are coming onto the car hopefully next week, as long as they don't fail. We're at 17% chance of failure. I also have 780 points. Thinking about spending some of that. We could do 620 for an immediate upgrade and make it 2. Or 1120 for a major. That won't be ready anytime soon. By going for the both of these, and with that lower chance, we'll get some downforce upgrades in time for Monaco, which in this Williams is going to be ridiculously hard, and I almost want to just crash on the first lap and say, okay, DNF, bye. See you next week. Yeah. And you know what? We might as well. I'm thinking that it's time to start getting some work done on the chassis as well. But like here, I'm going to need to put some money into quality control, and I would actually love to spend 800 points on more quality control here. Maybe one last, but I'll take 17%. That's not bad. That's pretty low chance of failure. So let's go ahead and take this upgrade. That's 2 coming for next week. That could make a bit of a difference. You can see how far behind we still are. Even with 2 upgrades coming, we're not even having the gap to Racing Point. So less than half of the distance is being covered here. And that's next week, not this week. But we are ready to move into qualifying, and like I said, the car feels good. I found a good setup that works, and I'm getting decent pace out of it, and it's competitive more or less to my teammate to the back end of the field. I'm not way off the pace or anything, but I'm still in the Williams, and I'm expecting, either P19 or P20 here. So, yeah. Sector 1, I'm pretty quick. Quite quick at times. Anywhere from 3/10 to 8/10. Most of the time between 6 and 8/10.
Barcelona, Catalunya. No doubt that today will be full of action on the track.
Sector 2, anywhere from a 10th loss to a 10th gained. And then it's Sector 3 where I'm losing some time.
What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
First question is going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice, particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
So that is from the hairpin to the final chicane. In between that section, I'm losing time. 3 corners make up the difference for that. The rest of those are fine, but 3 corners that are challenging for me all come together to cost me the requisite time. So I should be good on this lap initially. If I make a mistake, then I'll really be in trouble because it's sector 3 where I lose most of my time. Let's go ahead and get to our one-shot qualifying, and away we go. 7th right now, 8th right now. Not last right now, but not necessarily in a good spot right now either. Moved up a few spots on that corner. This is one of the spots that's really hard for the Williams. That corner is way more difficult than it should be. Here's where I'm talking about. From here to the end, I lose a lot of time, and most of it's right there on that corner. That hairpin, I lose so much time. I've got this heavy lumbering chassis and low aero where it's really hard to get this car around the corner. And that's P20. Not way off the pace or anything, just P20. I lost a little more time Sector 1 than I didn't have as good of a Sector 1 as I normally do.
Let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Hamilton, Vettel and Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, 6 tenths behind.
Now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
I was about 4 tenths slower in Sector 1 than I normally am. Sector 2, I was about 1/10 off the pace. Sector 3, that was actually right about where I normally am. So I could have been about 5 tenths faster, and that still would have been P20. So not a perfect lap. In fact, half a second kind of slow. But race pace-wise, I have decent race pace, but again, that Sector 3 kills me every lap. It's a real tough one for me for this car. Sometimes I can just about not lose time, but usually it's 3 tenths. But I usually lose 2 to 3 tenths just on the hairpin. And I'm not missing the braking zone or anything. It's just that hard of a corner for this car, for this setup. I mean, Russell gets through there better than I do, but I just really lose time there. But we start from the back of the grid, no surprise, it's a Williams.
But these things happen from time to time. Try to make up for it in the race.
Team goal is to get a top 16 this race or next, and it's not happening at Monaco unless a bunch of cars do not finish. Here, I might be able to finish ahead of a car or two. I'm not expecting any fireworks, but maybe. So we'll give it a shot. See what we can do. I might be able to at least pull off the goal, especially if a couple cars don't finish this race, obviously. But hopefully we'll stay competitive throughout this race and at least stay in contact with the field. That's my goal today. But it's Sunday, it's race day. We're in Catalunya, and we're going to do whatever we can with this car. with his driver in the cockpit. It's not all the car. But in terms of pace,
Good
throughout the
afternoon
season,
from a very familiar setting. It's race day here in Spain, and with everything still to play for in the championship battle, there's no room for mistakes in a Grand Prix that's well known for creating them.
I've been better than Kubica in terms of pace comparison to
It's a sellout
George
crowd
Russell
of
throughout the season.
140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-metre sprint down to turn 1 at this 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through these 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of turn 9. Alongside me once again for coverage of today's race, it's none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Let's start proceedings by talking about Lucas Weber. Looks like they've got a tough race in store today as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. You just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. Today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be. It's about effective damage limitation.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Leclerc, Pierre Gasly, and Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Hülkenberg, and Daniel Ricciardo, Norris, Butler, Kevin Magnussen, and Grosjean, Raikkonen, Stroll, Lucas Weber, and Alexander Albon, Russell, and the Professor. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Weber's penalty was small. It only bumped him down a few spots. He ends up P17 on the starting grid, so I'm still last.
Expected to be in a higher grid position than this. Let's push hard on the first few laps and move up
One
a few
whole
places.
spot. That was it. Alright, I do not want to go fast early on. I'd rather go fast later on. Get faster as time goes on. It's going to give me a little more leeway on the beginning. Let me see, can we... Looks like we could go 7 laps, but those tires are going to get pretty worn by that point. Window's very close. I think we could do 7, 10 and 7. There we go. Okay, 10 and 7. Let's see. How was my fuel? Fuel saving was not so great. Tire wear, I was actually really good with tire wear. Fuel saving, not so great in practice. So I think we'll keep that little bit extra in the tank, but not much. With that, we're ready to go. Main goal today, of course, is keep a clean race. Don't spin. There's 2 corners that I have trouble with that. One of those is Sector 3, where I have that problem right after the hairpin. You have that very quick elevation change in that little mini chicane. The second part of the chicane is a bit wider of a turn. But I learned a long time ago, if you lift just a little bit, costs you 1/10 to 2/10 of a second. But it stops you from sending the rear end around through that elevation change. And unlike Eau Rouge, where you really can't help it, if you lift off there, you're going to lose 1 to 2 seconds. There, it's only just over 1/10. And so I'd rather lose that 1/10 of a second every lap than spin out every other lap. The second place being in Sector 2, just before you go up the hill to the DRS zone. And in that spot, it's coming out of the turn, getting on the gas a little too early, too hard, and getting the oversteer and setting it around. I only did that once in practice. In F1 2018, I did that quite a bit. So I like the setup here. It feels good. Hopefully that doesn't happen here in the race. But here we go. We're going to put up 5 red lights here in Barcelona. Here we go racing. Little bit of wheel spin. Otherwise it was a good start, but this does give me that little bit of room. Watch for the backup. Oh, Alpine comes across hard. Doesn't give me the racing room. And I get a warning because I didn't back off. No damage though, luckily. No flashbacks. And first half a lap is in. That's the corner I'm talking about. That was not the way that normally happens. I was just not sighting the corner very well with those cars in front of me. But you see, coming through there, I have to let up every time. And I'm guessing that the front of the grid, none of them are having to let off there at all. They're going flat out through there. I would imagine the midfield is, here's the corner I was talking about, right there. That's where I lose that 1/10 of a second. The midfield, I would imagine, kind of just lifts a little bit. But the Williams just, it's garbage through there. Alright, so Hamilton's clearly got the lead after lap number 1. And see how at the end of the 3rd sector they just pull away. Now I do good here. And I start off well, and I close things down some. I can finally drive flat out. Oh, come on. Come on. Full fuel load. To let up there a little bit more than I'm used to.
Some information on Stroll. They have an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
Yes, please. Thank you. Stroll, thank you. Appreciate it. Next corner is the one I'm talking about that I spun out just once. And you see you got that little elevation change. And that's what does me. It's the elevation changes. Lift.
Battery is low on energy.
And down.
Reduce ERS deployment.
Do that on the straight. Thank you for the reminder.
Race officials have enabled DRS. DRS is now available.
Never hit that curb before. That's not a curb you want to be on. Ooh, close enough for DRS. I like that. Losing some downforce. As close as I am, and oh! Lost the rear end. Too much curb. And too much of a gap. Let's take that back and try again here. I don't necessarily need to beat out any cars whatsoever. but I would very much like to at least still have cars in front of me for a while here. That's my goal for you. Hence the fact that I actually used a flashback for a change. For something other than crashing. Ooh. It's Stroll ahead of me, and he is off the pace, remember? Well, he's off the pace enough that George Russell has gone around and immediately started pulling away. So can I overtake Stroll? Can I actually get a position? Now, is it a gearbox? What it is, I don't know. Will it correct itself and he will regain the momentum? Without that downforce, I'm really struggling to keep my line perfectly clean here. Trying to keep up with Stroll. Okay. I don't think I'm going to get him here unless he's really off pace horsepower-wise. But I do have the DRS. Oof. Push me off my line because I start wider, hit the apex, and go through a little bit tighter. What he was able to do. Back off to not turn in on him. Oof. Dang it. Wide through there again. Getting that oversteer with that loss of downforce. So I can just close him back down here. I think I might need a couple laps to make this happen, in which case that should save up some ERS, which I've saved up a little bit this lap. Turn it off entirely here for the next little while. Let's save some. No, I'm not changing strategy. Why would I change strategy? Actually having a competitive race for a change. Bottas out of the session. That's going to move me up a spot. Ooh, Stroll. Slow through there. Slight bump. Sign of Bottas, there he is on the right. Here's where I keep getting that oversteer, not this time. Took a little cleaner, a little more carefully through there that time. Stroll's fending me off so far, but I'm really hoping that this is the lap. Teammate in the pits.
George is coming in for his stop. We're trailing our teammate by 4.2 seconds.
Oh, no. This is not good. Bad timing. Late braking, and we got it. Finally, I get around Lance Stroll. Sainz comes out of the pits ahead of me. I'm up to P13. It's nice to have these guys pit and not still be in last.
The car ahead is coming to fit the mediums. Car ahead, now running medium tyres. The gap to the car ahead is 2.2 seconds.
Here's where I lose time, so I wouldn't be surprised if somebody closes me down. It's lap 7. And it's lap 11 that I'm planning to pit. There's Gasly behind me.
You'll be on the softs.
Daniel Ricciardo coming out of the pits right there, just behind me. That's not a good thing for me, but those guys are going to be breathing down my neck. Just got to run my own race. I'm not racing those guys. I've got 3 laps to go also before I'm going to get my pit stop. Trying to stay to the outside, let them both go. Oh, Gasly, come on. Finish it. Lost a lot of time there. Gasly cost me a lot of time there. Ricciardo had me, and Gasly was right on his gearbox, so Gasly should have easily had me, and he didn't. And next it's Lando Norris. Got a better chance of holding him off for a little while, but not a very good exit. Magnussen going as well. Lift and coast here. Save a little fuel and get those guys get off their gearbox. Give myself a little room to run. Weber next. Do not like this traffic. Ooh, he just touched my rear end. It's not Weber anymore. No, it's still Weber. But he hit my gearbox before he went past. Or my right rear tire anyway. One of the two. Lap 10.
Let's box this lap.
Oh, you want to box this lap now. Okay. Oh yeah, 10 and 7. That's what we planned, isn't it? Oh, good.
Gap to car in front is 2.4 seconds.
Now I should hold these guys behind me well enough. It's Hulkenberg who's behind me now. I shouldn't have to have any dealings with them this lap, but they are closing me down pretty quick. I'm very slow this lap. Feeling in the tires quite a bit. Oh, come on. Just saved it. Just saved it there. And now here they come.
Box, box, box.
Okay. Nobody else in the pit lane, just me. Already down to P17. So that's not good. Stroll's behind me now, and he's well down the order. So Russell's already gone by, and I haven't even done my pit stop yet.
Release.
Okay. Good stop.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit
Ah.
stops.
We lost too much time, and Stroll's back in front of us. So we're back to racing Stroll again. But now we have fresh tires. I've got some fuel to spare. He's on the yellow mediums, we're on the softs. So I think we should get him pretty easy. And that, for now, will be for P18. I'll need a couple DNFs to help me get any more. Ugh, lost that time through there. I gotta let up every time.
Okay, battery's looking good. You can use overtake to get past.
I won't get past this lap, but I can at least close them back down anyway. Back down to medium. I do have fuel to spare as well, so I'd like to get around him sooner rather than later, but I have to take a lap or two to get used to these soft tires.
Okay,
They
gap
do
ahead
drive
is
differently.
1.6 seconds.
Now I'm starting to go green, and I'm 1 second to the good. So this is becoming a good lap after last lap, warming the tires up, getting used to the soft. This lap going much better. Still just over 1 second
Okay,
behind.
you're catching the car ahead, but remember, we need to get to the end of the race on these tyres. There's 5 laps of fuel remaining.
I think Stroll fixed whatever problem he had, because he is not slow like he was before. Lost DRS. Thought I had it there. So Stroll is no longer a given. Whatever problem he had, I think is gone. Racing Point is just one of the slower cars, so I'm staying competitive when it comes to him. And that's nice. It's good that I'm getting to race. Of course, he's 15 seconds behind the field, I think. Few laps left. Running out of chances to get them. They do still have that spare fuel. Oh, terrible exit. What the heck happened?
Of fuel remaining. Our gap to the car in front is 1.7 seconds.
Come on, let's go. What can we do here? What can we do? Starting to inch away. I'm going to try to use the fuel mix this time to see what kind of extra speed that's going to give me. Lap 16, it's already the penultimate lap. Not good, not good. That sector 3 that time, I really lost some ground there. And he's pulled away from me.
Fuel to mix 2.
Well, either way, as we go into the final lap of this race here in just a moment anyway. Regardless, if I magically catch him or someone else on this last lap.
This is your final lap of the race.
The good news is I got to race somebody, even if it came down to him having an issue before his pit stop. After his pit stop, he recovered the pace, but I did at least get to race somebody, and that felt good. Lewis Hamilton takes the race win,
One lap of fuel remaining.
so he wins from pole. Oh! There's what I was talking about. That oversteer on that corner. Last lap of the race, it finally happened. Just saved it. So I wound up only using it a single flashback the whole race, and it was to correct a slow turn. So no crashes, though I came very close on this last lap. I'm enthusiastic about the fact that I got to race against Lance Stroll for a good chunk of this race. Really bad here on this last lap, but it's okay. Tires are coming off.
That's the end of the
Still
race.
a rough
See you in Parc Fermé.
race, and only 19th, which that kind of sucks because one car out of the race was it today, and it was Bottas. So Mercedes get first and last. And my teammate George Russell at least was ahead of somebody, so good for him. I got to race somebody. I was there right up until the last couple laps when my tires started to fall off.
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track.
See who joins them on podium.
Expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how
Sainz took
really
sixth.
is a team sport.
It's good for him. We were behind Sainz when he came out of the pits.
After an excellent race weekend, it's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Leclerc and Verstappen, 1, 2, 3. Boy, things have gotten exciting with Leclerc and Verstappen here recently. They have really started to pick up this rivalry of the two future champions. At least presumed champions.
And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. It's a great result.
Vettel
for Lewis
drops to
Hamilton,
fourth.
who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Some
Perez
amazing talent
5,
out on the track
Sainz
today.
6,
But Anthony,
Gasly
who
just
would you
P7.
pick as your driver of the day?
I think it's got to be Lucas Weber. Time and time again, he proves that he's someone who can quietly get the job done, and that's exactly what he's done today.
Let's move on to the constructors. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Mercedes keep the lead in the constructors, but up by just 3 points over Ferrari, with a 0 points day for Bottas. Red Bull in third. Racing Point is fourth. Renault fifth. Alfa Romeo and Haas just 2 points apart, and then McLaren with 11 points. A lot of those came today in P8. Toro Rosso and my team, the only ones yet to score any points here in this championship. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. And remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe and tune in next time on my Road to the Record. Bye for now.